everybody and welcome to today's English lesson. This is just a short video to explain to you what we're working on today and how to complete the tasks. Make sure you watch this video all the way to the end so that you complete your task correctly, because I will only hand out class charts to those of you who complete the task as asked. So what you might remember from our last lesson is we've been working on our stories. These stories were about a child who went to bed in the night and then a toy of theirs came to life. You did lots of acting in the classroom, preparing these scenes and coming up with some speech of what they would say to each other. Now, today we're going to be working on another aspect of our writing, which is the tense we're going to be writing in. Some of you might already have realised that we've been writing in the past tense. When I say the word tense, what I mean is what time the story took or takes place. So if I write in the past tense, I'm writing as though the story has already happened. If I write in the present tense, I'll be writing as though the story is happening right now before our very eyes. And if I write in the future tense, I'll be writing as though the story hasn't happened yet and it's going to happen in the future. Most stories are written in the past tense. This is the most common tense for stories to be written in, so that is why we're practicing it for these stories that we're writing. In order to write correctly in the past tense, we need to remember how to form past tense verbs, because out of all of the parts of speech, it is verbs that change according to the tense of your writing. We've done quite a lot of practice on past tense verbs, so what I thought I'd do for your first activity is a little quiz, seeing if you can remember the past tense of some irregular verbs. If you remember Ed, you will also remember that most past tense regular verbs, so the normal ones, when they go to the past, they just add an ed on the end. Like, for example, if I say, today or every day I walk to school. If I wanted to talk about yesterday, so in the past tense, I would say yesterday I walked to school. And that kt sound at the end is not a T, it's the letters E and D. That's the suffix that shows the past tense. However, there are some verbs which are irregular and they have funny different endings in the past tense. Let's have a look at this for today. So this is the quiz you're going to get. And what you need to do is for each verb given, write what it would be in the past tense. So for example, the past tense of I wake up isn't I waked up. Have a think in your head, do you know what it would be in the past tense? The answer is I woke up. Yesterday I woke up at 7 o'clock. So this is an irregular past tense because in the past tense it changes the whole word. We don't just add an ed on the end, it goes from I wake up to I woke up. Most of the ones on this list are past tense with irregular changes, so they're not the usual types of past tense. So you might have to think carefully for each one to figure out what it would be in the past. So that was your first activity. The second activity is to help us think of some verbs that would be really useful to use in our writing. So we're going to be doing a verb brainstorm. As you can see, I've very kindly put the date and the li on the top of your page for you. So the li that we're working on today is to use a range of verbs in the past tense. Range means lots of different types of verbs, which is why we're going to be doing this exercise today. It says, fill in the tables below, writing the present tense of the verb on one side and the past tense of the verb on the other side. Some examples have been done for you in red. If you get stuck, look at the verb's word mat for inspiration. The verb's word mat can be found on your assignment page, so if you open up the English assignment page, you should see the word mat in there. However, a lot of you, I think, could do this without using the mat, so if you feel confident and you want a challenge, try thinking of some verbs without using the mat for help. The first section says movement verbs, so all of these verbs have to be verbs that tell us about how someone moved or in what way they moved. As you can see, I've thought of 3 verbs in the present tense. He sneaks, she creeps, and he runs. The sneaking, creeping, and running are all types of movement, so that is why they're in this table here. You can see I've used a pronoun with each verb, and under the present tense heading, I've only used the present tense. Then, on the other side of the table, I've added in what happens when you put the verb into the past tense. So he sneaks becomes he snuck. She creeps becomes she crept. He runs becomes he ran. So it's really important that you think carefully about how each of these verbs would change and go into the past tense. What I suggest you do for each section is fill in as many verbs that you can think of that relate to the heading, so in this case it's movement, put them all in the present tense, and then once you've filled up the table, try and see if you can convert them all to the past tense. Like I said, if you get stuck for ideas, go to the verbs word map, which has some examples of verbs for all different types of headings. There's movement verbs. The second one is voice verbs, so these are all to do with the way somebody used their voice. Maybe they said something, maybe they whispered, maybe they shouted, etc. There's emotion verbs, so these are all verbs that show us the emotion that the person was feeling or the person felt. And then there's senses verbs, so these relate to our senses, things we perceived. So you can see I've used this sense and I've used this sense already. What other senses do you know? Once you've completed the table, make sure that you submit your work by clicking Turn It In on the top right-hand corner of your assignment page. I will then mark it and I'll hand out some class charts to those of you who complete the work, who watch to the end of this video, and those of you who completed your work to an exceptional standard might even receive some bonus class charts points. Good luck everybody, I hope you enjoy your lesson today.